Good afternoon. I'm Csaba Csiky. I'm the chairman of EnerSave Capital, and I'm glad to see you here in a somewhat unusual circumstance due to COVID-19, but I hope you're all well. I'm a member of the LAUNCH Consortium, and when the LAUNCH Consortium asked us to join them for creating a standardized contract which would be suitable for securitization, I was delighted of this opportunity due to the fact that I'm an investment banker myself. So on the one side, I know the issues which investors are having when looking at sustainability. At the same time, we are the majority shareholder of a smaller ESCO in the UK, and we know the realities of life, of small contracts, and the inability of contractors to find suitable bank finance. So let me jump right in. What is the big gap and what we've tried to achieve at launch? Institutional investors in general are looking for something which is called 50 million, preferably 100 million bond. There they can have the minimum ticket of 5 million. They would like to have a rating. Ideally, they would like to have a green bond certification, give it a listing, 5 to 10 years. That's what the investors want. On the other side, you have got small measures, change a boiler, change an air conditioning, retrofit a truck to electricity. We are between 500, maybe 200,000 euros. So there's an enormous gap between the measures and what investors are actually looking for. Now we have sat down and we've tried to make a contract which would allow, subject to obviously everybody using the contract in an identical format, which then needs to be signed in a special location so that everybody knows that this contract has not been tampered with. One would be able to commingle assets of the same quality and of the same measure, i.e., if there are 10 people doing lighting, we would be able to commingle those 10 contractors for lighting, who, let's say, do it out of Germany and make it into a bond. The key to the Green Deal is clearly finance. We are always talking about money, and it's essential that this money is being put to good use in the marketplace. For scaling any of these measures, as I said earlier, it is unavoidable to have a standard contract. I mean, if we just think about it, if there are 10 contractors which are having 10 clients, and these 10 contractors are all having different contracts, today, when we at EnerSave Capital would acquire your receivables, that would mean that our lawyers would be looking at 100 different contracts. Having a standardized contract avoids all of this, and as it is accepted by the market, it actually accelerates deal closure and lets the market grow within the energy efficiency arena, which is one of the big requirements of the Green Deal. The way we've done this contract is that we've tried to put together a mechanic, which we call the static part of the contract. In this element, everything, the rights and responsibilities of everybody is described. This is a piece one cannot alter. Some of you might ask, why can't you alter it? Well, try to go, when you buy your BMW or Renault or VW, try to ask the dealer, can you change a term in the contract? No, you can't change it. It is in a balanced way. It has been written by one of the biggest law firms. It has been double-checked by our investor board. It has been vetted by practitioners and clients out in the field, and everybody is saying it's a balanced contract. Then we've got a second element, which we call the flexible part. Like every building is different. In one building, you are going to be changing 5 boilers. In another, you're going to be changing 2 boilers. In another building, you're going to be changing 1,000 lamps. In the next one, 100 lamps. So the flexibility here needs to be given that every contractor can input whatever he is changing. All of that results in a monetary output. And here I would like to sort of stop a little bit and give you a different track we've been taking here. Instead of selling something, we are selling an output within this contract in order to make it, let's call it balance sheet neutral at best. So it's very, very similar to what you would see in a leasing contract, but it is not a leasing contract. So here you can very well see the visualization of what we've designed. Main body jumps into a flexible schedule, and there you can have whatever you want to have. One changes boilers, the other one changes cooling equipment, and you name it, you can do anything. It is very, very flexible. It only needs to have at the end a monetary output, which then jumps back into what we call inflexible parts, because that's where you've got your remedies if one of the contractual party is not doing what he's supposed to do. So there are a series of schedules which are attached to the contract. Some will be needed for one application, others will not be needed. But as long as the main body stays constant and the output of the measure is one monetary unit, which then is being paid over a certain time, let's call it, we are good. Now, what we have built is as a service. You need to imagine as a service as a light or whatever you're installing has a certain output, be it lumen per square meters, be it BTUs per cooling unit. These outputs is what you are actually selling to the client. And this is what you actually are telling him right from the beginning, that my equipment will deliver this. So instead of telling him you're getting the equipment, you're actually contracting the output which he has requested and you have promised to deliver to him. This is actually having a big alignment of interest from everybody. The ESCO rightly promises something and should deliver it. At the same time, the client requests something and he should receive it. The mechanics of the contract on an as-a-service basis are such that should the client not receive what he has contracted, he has got the right not to pay within certain limits. At the same time, should you as the ESCO not be paid by the client, you've got the right to interrupt the services. Does this create an alignment of interest? Very much so. A factory without lights, I presume, is not going to be producing a lot. But if it's without lights because the ESCO has not delivered what he should deliver, then very rightly the client should be able to withhold payment. In order to make the equipment work all in a proper fashion, the ESCO is supposed to maintain it, to look after it during the contracting period, and clearly if client so desires, it can be extended over the period, over the contracting period. The as a service for ESCOs is having one big selling point for what we call implementers. The receivable is not booked into the number section of the accounts, but into the notes. By having standardized as a service contract, the ESCO has got the ability to sell its receivables to a company like ourselves, EnerSave Capital. We would gladly acquire them subject to this being to scale. This then frees up the balance sheet of the ESCO. He is having the money which was tied up in his ESCO contracts released back to him, and he can continue and do his own business at which he is best. Last but not least, in Luxembourg, securitization vehicles are taxed at a nominal rate. Thereby, the profits generated from securitization, and here again, I'm very happy to have an offline discussion on this, are de facto tax-free for the investor as well as for the ESCO. In short, securitization would allow, based on a standardized contract, for commingling of assets. This gives scale, and whilst nobody is interested who the others are, and the other ESCOs are not interested in your terms, what you are contracting with your clients, what is important is that the legal framework is the same. By freeing up overdraft lines and banking lines for ESCOs, they can grow their business much faster, and with that, everybody is open to really engage in the Green Deal. The funding taps are open for the ESCO industry, and we can all achieve what we are supposed to do. Securitization is a conveyor belt. It is very much a standardized process of acquisition of receivables, repackaging it into a bond, selling the bond to investors. By the sales process to investors, or the proceeds from the bond is being given to the ESCO. The ESCO can pay off his banker and can keep on doing the business all over again. I hope this was a little bit helpful. I know it's short, but we are here to talk to you on a bilateral basis if you would like to. And on the 18th at the Sustainability Energy Week, we would be delighted of taking questions. Thank you very much for your time.